Hi everybody, we're back in the kitchen and this time we are making Sancocho, Puerto Rican Vegetable Stew. We're doing a vegetable stew because Negi's abuela makes her a vegetable stew with cornmeal dumplings. So we're also going to do the cornmeal dumplings. And this is a very healthy stew, and if you look at all the vegetables we have here, they are full of nutrients, antioxidants. If you recall last semester we talked about red bell peppers and how they're very high in antioxidants. And if you look here, we've got a whole bunch of different ingredients. We've got green plantain, yellow plantain, this is yucca, onion, butternut squash. This is a great winter vegetable. Our corn, sweet potatoes, the red bell pepper, new or red potatoes, and kombucha, which is actually a Japanese squash, but it is used a lot in Caribbean cooking. So we're definitely gonna put this in our Puerto Rican vegetable stew. And then of course we have our celery and carrots, which help make the vegetable stock really rich. So also over here you can see I've already got my tools laid out, and this is what is called my mise en place. Remember I told you guys mise en place means put in place. So as you can see right here, my mise en place is ready. I've got my tools, I've got my peeler, paring knife, cutting board, strainer, wooden spoon. Here's the non-slip mat. And if you look right over here, I've got my large pot ready on the stove to go. All right, so what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna show you how we're gonna cut up all these different vegetables and lead you through the steps of the recipe. So for right now though, I'm gonna take a break, get my table cleaned and put everything aside, and then show you our first vegetable preparation, and then we can start making our soup. We're getting our recipe ready. We're doing our mise en place, which means put in place, and we're working on the sancocho, okay? So right now, I have our carrot, okay? So I haven't shown you how to do this yet, so every time we do a new preparation for the ingredient, I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? So this is our peeler, okay? This is our peeler. I have our cutting board. I have the non-slip mat underneath the cutting board. And this little bowl is to catch the peelings, because what I peel, I'm gonna save and put in the freezer for stock, okay? We save everything, and so that's what I'm gonna do. So the easiest way for me to peel is I put the carrot against the board and peel down towards, away from yourself, down towards the cutting board, okay? So we're just gonna peel the carrot, get it completely clean. I'm saving all the peelings to go in my stock, if I'm gonna make any stock, chicken stock, fish stock, beef stock. And I'm also gonna trim off the top and the bottom, and I save those too. You want your stock to be full of nutrients from our vegetables and the flavor. I'm using the chef knife. So I've got the chef knife out today because we've got a couple of different ingredients that are very hard to cut. So we need a big knife. So now that I have peeled the carrot, I'm gonna now slice the carrot, okay? So I'm gonna slice it in half first. And this is pretty thin, so I'm just gonna slice it right through and make little discs. Go slowly. And we wanna make it about like this thick, okay? So, you see how thick it is, all right? That's a good size thickness for our soup. We don't want it to completely melt into the soup and disappear. We do want it to be there. So you don't want to cut it too thin or too small. And then with the rest of the carrot, since this is bigger, I'm going to cut it in half down the center. So we can see. All right, thank you. So we're going to cut it down the center. And again, we're cut it the same thickness, but also now it's a little easier to cut because it's flat against the cutting board. Keep your fingers away from the cutting blade. Okay, and now we have all of our carrots ready to go into our sancocho. So I already did the peppers. I showed you how to do that when we made the resaito. I have the resaito already measured here. We have our measuring cup and 1/4 cup of it. Our half bunch of cilantro already cut, since I showed you how to do that last time too. Our onions chopped. I've already drained and rinsed the small white beans. And I have our celery. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is the celery. So I've already cut up 2 of the stalks of celery. I'm going to wash off my cutting board in between. And now we're going to do the celery. So we wash our celery to get rid of any dirt that may be on it. And now we're going to cut it. So right here where this seam is, I'm going to cut that. And again, I save this. This is going to go in my stock. I save the leaves. It goes in my stock. Okay, I can freeze them, and they could be there up to 6 months actually in the freezer. So you may be preparing your vegetables in the middle of the summer, and you're like, why would I save it for stock? It's too hot to make stock. You do. You can put them in the freezer and save them. And now, see how thick I'm cutting these? Okay, so now if I was doing this type of preparation, let's say in the restaurant, usually the chef wants things to be a lot more appealing, and everything would be cut into different shapes, brunoise, and you have all these different steps that you have to do and make everything look exactly perfect and presentable. But since this is a family recipe we're trying to create, which is inspired by our book, When I Was Puerto Rican, by Esmeralda Santiago, I am not worrying too much about that. I want it to look homey, made by my abuela, and look wonderful. So, therefore, I'm not cutting my vegetables French style. Now, we have our plantains. We have 1 green, we have 1 yellow. Okay, so again, we're gonna prepare the plantains. Plantains are a firmer, harder type, like a banana, but basically more starch, more like a potato. So it's a very starchy ingredient, and as you can see, it's firmer. It's harder to get the peel off. I had to use the knife, okay? So again, this is gonna go into our vegetable stew. So I'm not gonna cut it up small, all right? But we want nice pieces going into our vegetable stew. So, pull that out. And again, I wanna keep everything nice and neat. So I'm gonna cut it up and put it into another bowl. What do you think? Does that look good to you? Is that good? Okay.
Yes.
So, just so you guys know, Miss Campos is my camera lady today, and so she's going to give me her critique afterwards and let me know everything looks good or not. Miss Campos is a wonderful cook and makes tons of stuff at home.
Hey guys.
She'll be my taste tester.
That's right.
And let me know whether or not I did a good job. So, all right, I've got those all cut up. Again, I'm putting them in my bowl to keep everything organized. Now I'm going to do the green one. Again, I'm going to score it with the knife to open this up and be able to take it out easily. We also have in our ingredients here the yucca. Yucca or cassava root is another vegetable that's used. Now the cassava root is similar to a potato. You have to cook it. You can't eat it raw. It's actually kind of toxic if you eat it raw. So the yucca has a much thicker skin than a potato, so you can't peel it like a normal potato, but you have to use the knife to get it off. And this plantain doesn't want to peel either. There we go. So the green one is even firmer than the yellow plantain. As you can see, You know, if this was a banana, it would have been broken and mushed by now, but see how firm that is? All right, so those are some of the textural differences of the plantain. And again, I'm gonna cut them into nice pieces that will look good in the stew. We're preparing our ingredients. This is our mise en place time, getting everything ready in its place. So now we have all those. Now our yucca, like I said, our yucca is similar to a potato. It has to be cooked. You cannot eat it raw. And it has a very thick skin and actually a coating of wax over it as well. So when we cut it, we're not going to use the peeler. We're going to use the knife. And again, the chef knife, because this is very hard. All right, so we're going to take off the bottoms. And then what we can do is we can cut it into smaller pieces so that it's more manageable. So this one, I'm going to cut into 3 pieces. See how hard it is? It's really very hard. Okay, and we got a lot of hard ingredients today. Butternut squash is very hard, and so is the kombucha squash. Now, the best way to do this is to cut off the peel. All right, so use the knife. Make sure it's a sharp knife. Remember, if you're at home, make sure you get your parents' permission to be working in the kitchen, or ask them to help you. There's some things that they probably would want to do with you. Please invite them. You guys could do it as an activity together. That's the best way. I love cooking in the kitchen with my children, and they have tons of fun. It's a wonderful way to share time together. All right, so there we go. We've removed the skin, and now we can cut this up. Now the yucca is like a pineapple in the sense that it has a core in the center that is very hard. So we want to get rid of the core. So we're just going to cut around the core, and that will just, I actually will just throw it out, okay? I normally save almost absolutely every single thing, but this, because it's such a hard fibrous thing, we're just going to put in the garbage, okay? Now, if we had a composting bin and we lived in Puerto Rico with a garden in our backyard, like Esmeralda Santiago did when she grew up, we could have a compost bin and put it in our compost. Okay, so now we're going to put the cut yucca also in a bowl, and I'll continue to cut the rest of that later, but we're going to cut it up into chunks, okay? So I'll finish cutting that when we're off camera so I don't waste time.